Well, good afternoon again. Hope you like the new t-shirt. Can't show you what's on the back at the moment, but we'll get it in, and it looks like we'll probably get some in for those who are interested. You may even want to buy them. However, I'm not going to go into a long introduction today because I'd like to just bring this one out. And it's the film Who Dares Wins, which came out in 1982. And Lewis Collins was the star of the film. However, there are some pieces of information you might be interested in. One of them, of course, is the storyline itself. Yes, we did the Iranian embassy in 1980. They tried to rush a film out, but they couldn't do the Iranian embassy. So what they did is they picked an American ambassador's residence. That is what the film is based around once the hostages have been taken. So if you can just bear that in mind, that unfortunately they couldn't recreate or try to recreate the Iranian embassy siege. I did that with the 6-day film, which came out in November 2017. And for those who've seen it, 99% have enjoyed it, and some have seen it way, way more, 10, 20 times, they tell me. So it must be interesting. However, I'm just doing a review. Lewis Collins was a star. I thought the cast was quite good. Apart from the lady, she's wanted to speak too much, but we'll probably cover that in a little bit. The film came out in 1982, and it came out after the Falkland Islands conflict. So between the siege and the Falkland Island conflict that we took part in, there's some little stories that people don't know. That Lewis Collins, obviously, he was at 2-3 SAS. I heard he passed the entrance to get in, but then I heard that his fame stopped him going any further. I heard the stories actually from the lads in 2-3 SAS when I was up in Birmingham way back in 90 to 92. Some things follow people around. However, let me go back to the making of the film. Lewis Collins actually came to Hereford, to the base camp. And the story goes, which we were told at the time, is that he wanted to see how SAS lads socialised. And he was allowed into the camp to do that. And the main places I saw him when we were there, and remember this is between 80 and 82, was when the film was being made. So for those who don't know, Snapper, Soldier I, Pete Winner, yes, all the same guy, myself and a couple of others. When he came to the camp, Lewis Collins, he had to be chaperoned. And the idea was that a Wednesday and a Saturday in the camp, in the old days, no idea what it's like now, not interested. In the old days, a Wednesday and Saturday, they had a club there called the Paladrin Club. Paladrin, for those who don't know, is an anti-malarial drug which the lads took along with everybody else when they were away anywhere where there was a possibility of getting malaria. The drug is called Paladrin. The Paladrin Club was in the old SAS camp, aptly named by the guys who spent lots and lots of time in jungles all over the world before I ever got there. So when he came in on the Wednesday and Saturday, there was a couple of those Wednesdays and Saturdays when myself and Soldier I, Pete Winner, had to look after him. Yes, the adoring females. He's a film star, but he was on our premises. And we had to make sure that he didn't get into trouble. And that's exactly what we did. let him have a free rein, keep an eye on him. Never gets out of hand. He never thought it would. But responsibility still lies is on SAS, British military camp, and precautions are taken to make sure that he gets off at the right time and gets home to wherever he's going. That happened on a number of occasions. There's never any fuss. Yes, shed full of beer like anybody else. But hey, we're all human. And of course, that's how it happened. So let's move on a little bit. That gives you a little bit of a background of what we did, how his involvement on the camp and why. And basically just wanted to piss up with the lads. And 9 times out of 10, that's what happened. But I'll go back now to the kit and equipment used in the film, certainly by the lads who were playing SAS in the training shots. And I know some of the areas that we used. I've used them myself in Herefordshire. So they did have access to some of the training areas. They had access to the camp itself. And of course, a lot of the filming was done around that area. So I was impressed with their sort of belt kits. It looked the part at least, not like Bravo 20. And the helis that we used, yep, they'd pass any day. So it talked about the Ruperts in the film. And then the training areas, as I said, I know the areas that we use for the filming. I've used them myself. So pretty good so far. Good kit and equipment. Ruperts, yeah. And then training areas and some of the weaponry and stuff. Very good for the film. More realism, but there again, a lot of people don't know that, but people like me do know it. So I can tell you firsthand is what I'm doing now, that's what we do. And it's important. Some of the surveillance in the film and anti-surveillance, where he jumps on the boat and lands right next, yeah, you need it for the film, I suppose. But in reality, it doesn't quite work like that, just by luck, you land right next to somebody that you're supposed to be meeting. But again, in the film, it fits into the film okay, but just a little bit unrealistic in my opinion. It never works like that for anybody who's ever done any surveillance, anti-surveillance, counter-surveillance. It doesn't work. And then they had the silence weapon, which you remember in the last review I did, which was on Bravo 20. I mentioned that, if they'd taken a silence weapon with them, it'd been much easier, especially if you get compromised like they did. They let somebody run away and tell people when in fact they could have shot them. It's a silence weapon, You'd have to be very good to find out where that came from. But they had one in the film, similar, but I don't think it was a Welrod. It looks similar to one, but they used it at the right time. So, my opinion, that is. And then they came out with all the demands, and a lot of it, yeah, I can base back to the siege itself when we done it. And you can see from now on in that there's lots of stuff that followed the lines of what actually happened on the siege. So the demands that they met, you'd expect. They've taken over the ambassador's residence, which in reality would have been the Iranian embassy. So already you can see, and I said already that I thought the female that was, I can't remember her name, but I just thought that she was talking and talking and talking. Nobody seemed to be listening to it, apart from when they had to stand up and do something aggressive. And it's the same old stuff, you know, the tap on the telephone. Yeah, that was done in the siege. Drilling holes in the wall and taking bricks out, exactly the same. The duty cop tied to the stairs, you could relate that to Trevor Locke, albeit he wasn't tied to the stairs, but he was held. One policeman. And then they murder the hostages. The plot is the same. You get the SAS on BBC TV. The helis and stuff. And overall, I thought the film itself, once you started following that, I would know that. Other people wouldn't. But I do believe that there are a lot of people like this film, and I can see why. It's not a film I've ever seen before, trust me, ever. So I sat down and watched it twice, 2 nights, just to get some idea, but it didn't change my thought pattern. It didn't change anything about what I'd seen. But also looking at it from another point of view is the people who want to watch the film have got a bit of action, they've got a plot, they've got a storyline, and I thought that that was something that maybe would draw people to it. And then really coming to the end, I've mentioned what I can. There's no point in recapping on the siege, but all of that stuff that they did was stuff that was carried out. And if you remember, I always said at the beginning that it was going to be around about the Iran embassy siege, but eventually they couldn't, so they picked an ambassador's residence, which was USA ambassador. So there we go. So the residence itself was about to be recaptured by the SAS, the lads, from the terrorists, by a fighting force which is known as the SAS, to attack without warning, to kill without hesitance, and disappear with no trace. Actually, the final option was exactly that. So it is the final option. I'm not sure they disappeared without trace, but it was in their hands. And of course, in the film, the good guys win. So it should be. So, as you see behind me, the resolution. In this case, the film itself had a resolution, but they didn't have that picture. So unlucky, guys. But you did get a film.